I was the actor in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie, but most people don't know I shot my mom in the head and killed her. My name is Ryan Grantham, and this is my story. I grew up as a child movie starred and appeared in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, becoming Redwood, and most recently I was in the show Riverdale. In 2020, I began struggling with depression and violent thoughts. I began plotting a mass murder plan that involved killing Justin Trudeau, who is the President of Canada, and then I planned to go to my college and commit mass acts of violence there. I didn't want my mom to see me do that, so in March, while she was playing piano, I grabbed my gun, walked up behind her, and shot her in the head. She died instantly, so I packed my car with camping gear, guns, and 12 Molotov cocktails. I began to head out. About halfway through my trip to find Justin Trudeau, I turned around and turned myself into the police. In September of 2022, I was sentenced to life in prison after I pled guilty in court. I will be eligible for parole after 14 years. Follow for more stories.
Does Alicia Novato truly want to stay living with this man, or is she a victim of Stockholm Syndrome? Neighbors stated that on Saturday they saw Alicia with a man yelling, and she yelled, "I will go back." Now, this is the day before she went to the police station. The reason that Alicia went to the police station to turn herself in was because she wanted to take herself off the missing person list so that she's able to get a driver's license and start a normal life. Now let's go back to the neighbors because they say some pretty interesting stuff about Alicia. Garrett Smith, who is one of the neighbors, said the first time he spoke with Alicia was when she was lost and she was looking for someone she called uncle. Now she was near the post office just days before she turned herself in. The neighbor said that she looked very scared and lost, and she wanted some direction to 6th Street. They found out later that the person she was referred to as uncle is the man that she is allegedly staying with. Now, Megan, who is Garrett Smith's girlfriend, said that she saw enter into this, quote, random house, and she assumed that she had found someone that can help her with her directions. They said they found it really odd that Alicia called Garrett Mr., and they realized that she was not much older than they are. Now listen to this. Garrett said he noticed that her voice was very scratchy and that she was wearing most likely the same braces that she was wearing when she was missing, meaning she did not keep up with her dental hygiene and was very neglected. Now Garrett has been living in his place for about a year now, and he said that in the year that he has been living there, he has seen about 30 to 40 times the whole year he's been there. And he said that when he did see her, he would see her with him, and sometimes they will be holding hands. Now here is what I found strange. He said when he first started living there, he actually interacted with this man that has allegedly been living with Alicia. And the man asked him, "Why did you move here to this town, right? This is a small town. Why here?" And Garrett said, "Well, actually, I'm moving from Phoenix, Arizona, which is not far away from Glendale." And he said that this man started to act weird and kind of avoid Garrett. Now, this is how Alicia looks in 2019. This is how Alicia looks in 2023. And as a psychic medium, pictures are very powerful. They can tell me a lot, especially with energy. The 2019 version, I can feel her innocence, light, airy. And the 2023 feels very heavy. I can tell you, just by looking at this picture, you can tell that she's been through a lot. She's been sheltered a lot. And at this moment that they took her picture, what I'm picking up is she looks annoyed. Straight up, she looks annoyed. She looks like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I just want to get this over with. And I want to get my driver's license. Like, that is what I am picking up here. She seems very annoyed. These two energies feel completely the opposite. It doesn't even feel like it's the same person. This is very heavy. You can feel the trauma that this girl or this woman has been through. To me, this does not feel like somebody who truly wants to stay with this person. I think that she is most likely a victim of Stockholm Syndrome. And I'm really glad that she actually went to the police station, had the courage, and went, and now we are able to bring some closure to her family, and hopefully there can be some justice because she is a victim. Alicia Navarro has fled with a man named Eddie Davis. Images of them moving has surfaced online. Here's a couple things that I found really interesting about these pictures. One thing I noticed about this picture is if you look at Alicia, she seems happy. She seems like she's smiling. She seems like she's having a good time moving. From what I heard, I believe that she's still going to stay in Montana. Here's another thing that I noticed about the pictures, and correct me if I'm wrong, but does that over here look like a card seat? I mean, maybe that was already there, could be from another family member, right? But why is that here? Now, I know there were rumors saying that there was a baby, but I think those rumors are false. In this picture, you can kind of get a better look of how Eddie Davis looks like. And compared to her, I mean, she kind of still looks like she's 14 in my opinion.
This town is so haunted they had to permanently close it to the public. This is Dudleytown, Connecticut. Dudleytown, Connecticut is a haunted, abandoned town in Cornwall, Connecticut, and has a creepy history. Visitors who have explored there say that once they enter, it's otherworldly in there. Creepy. First of all, it's reportedly completely silent. You can't hear birds, animals, bugs, nothing. A researcher compared entering the heart of Dudleytown to standing inside a recording studio booth. Another common complaint from visitors is that a lot of the photos they take in Dudleytown won't develop, but as soon as they leave, their cameras will work just fine. Which makes sense, as I had a really hard time finding really any photos of Dudleytown when I was researching. The creepy legend of the town is years ago, the Dudley family fled to the U.S. after one of their family members was taken care of after plotting against King Henry VIII. They settled in Connecticut and the bad luck followed. Residents of Dudleytown began suffering a series of devastating crop failures and mental illness was rampant in the village. There were countless mysterious disappearances within the village, and all-around chaos overwhelmed Dudleytown. By the early 1900s, it was completely abandoned. For fans of the Conjuring films based on paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, the two visited Dudleytown and outright declared that it was extremely haunted and controlled by something terrifying. Investigators agreed that Dudleytown is some kind of a portal. But here's where it goes from spooky to downright bizarre. The owners, the Dark Entry Forest Association, closed Dudleytown to the public and don't do anything to dispel the rumors. In fact, they refuse to be interviewed for the most part, and the owners go to great lengths to conceal their identities. On top of that, if you are caught trespassing in Dudleytown, you will be heavily prosecuted. This is so strange to me. We see so many other ghost towns around the world, and usually they keep these places open for tourism. You know, profit off the history and the spookiness. But for some reason, this association wants to keep people out of Dudleytown altogether. A paranormal researcher said there's some kind of secret that they are keeping there, and they want people to stay out. What are your thoughts? This has been requested a couple times. Has anyone ever been? Or are there any towns by you that you find to be really creepy?
Okay, buckle up because we have some terrifying news straight out of, you guessed it, the Pacific Northwest. Let's get into it. On July 15th, a woman flagged down a motorist to call 911 in Klamath Falls, Oregon. The story she told police was straight out of a horror movie. The woman, who is a sex worker, was approached by a man in Seattle, Washington at around 12 a.m. He claimed he was an undercover police officer. He then went on to tell her that she was under arrest for prostitution, and because he had a gun and other law enforcement items, she believed him. He tased her, handcuffed her, and even put irons around her ankles and forced her into the car. As they began driving, the woman caught a glimpse of his GPS and noted that their destination was over 2 hours away. She realized then he wasn't a police officer and that she was being kidnapped. The destination was Klamath Falls, Oregon, and along the way, he stopped to sexually assault the woman before putting her back in the car and heading towards his own home. When they arrived at the man's home, she was forced into a homemade cell in the man's garage that he had constructed out of cinder blocks. She was then locked inside and left alone. Fearing for her life, she beat on the door until she was finally able to bust it open and escape. The man that allegedly attacked the woman is known as 29-year-old Negassi Zuberi. Police obtained a warrant for his home and have collected evidence supporting the woman's story. A few hours after her escape, Zuberi was tracked down to a Walmart parking lot in Reno, Nevada. He was in his car with his wife and one of his children on his lap. He attempted to destroy his phone and even cut himself, but luckily he was apprehended and both his wife and child were unharmed. Zuberi has used the names Sakima, Justin Heish, and Justin Kouassi, and he hasn't lived in Oregon long. The FBI is currently seeking the public's help because they believe he may have participated in other assaults over the past 10 years. Coin News has put together a timeline of all of the locations that Zuberi has lived at in the hopes the public might have additional information. The FBI believes that Zuberi has used multiple methods in order to incapacitate his victims and violently assault them. This would include things like putting drugs in their drinks and pretending to be a police officer. If you have any information about this case, you're asked to contact the FBI by calling 1-800-225-5324 or by submitting a tip online at tips.fbi.gov.
What's up, everybody? All right, you guys, so if you're not already following me, make sure you hit that follow button and let's get into this crazy story. So today we're going to be talking about the story of Lindsay and Robert Shivers. So Robert and Lindsay met in 2007 at Auburn University during a fitness class. Now, Lindsay was Miss Houston in 2005. She was allegedly a cheerleader, and Robert was a known football player for Auburn University. So the two, they fell in love and they later went on to get married. Now, Robert's football career was a little off and on. Like I said before, he played football for Auburn University, and then he went on to be undrafted for the Atlanta Falcons. So even though his football career really didn't take off like he wanted it to, he still became a really prominent businessman. So much to the point where they were able to purchase a $2.5 million mansion. The couple went on to have 3 kids, and on social media, Lindsay really presented herself as the perfect mom and the perfect wife. So Lindsay's Instagram is L Shivers, and on there you could see they were always out of town. They were always on vacation. They just seemed like they were having the time of their lives with their kids. But in April of this year, everybody would be shocked when Robert would file for divorce. Robert filed for divorce because he said that he found out that Lindsay was having an affair. So Lindsay adamantly, she denied the affair. But they have a home in the Bahamas. Now, this home that they share in the Bahamas, Robert believes that Lindsay was over there, met a guy, and she began an affair with this guy. So the man name that he accused her of having an affair with is Terrence Bethel, and allegedly, y'all, he's 28 years old. So after filing for divorce, that's when Lindsay came out and said that she felt unsafe in her marital home. Lindsay said that she had to put locks and cameras in the house because she didn't feel safe around Robert. And Lindsay even said that she was being abused. Now, I don't know how true that is, you guys. It just seems very odd that you would put all of that out there after this man decides to file for divorce. And y'all been together since like 2006, 2007. So while all of this is going on, Robert is still taking care of the kids. They're still communicating. But that's when police make a shocking discovery. So officials in the Bahamas were investigating a burglary. Now, they came across these messages on WhatsApp on a man's phone. So allegedly, these messages were from Lindsay, from Terrence, and from another man. And y'all, what they found was completely shocking. So in these WhatsApp messages, officials are saying that they saw Lindsay, Terrence, and another man plotting to kill Robert. Now y'all, they even went so far as to hire somebody to do the hit. Once they realized these messages were real, they instantly apprehended the three.
About an American woman accused of conspiring to kill her husband in the Bahamas. Lindsay Shiver and her husband Robert visited the island last month, and according to prosecutors, she hired two local men to kill her husband. The plot was foiled, but it's unclear how. Both of those men are also in custody. They and Shiver were in court last week. All three due in court again in October.
So y'all, Lindsay, the man Terrence, and the man by the name of Farhan, all of them are being held in the Bahamas and they are facing charges. Now, we are unclear on the charges that they are facing right now, but they don't go back to court until October. Now, y'all, Robert, he has custody of the kids, and he's saying he's just trying to navigate everything that's going on, and he's trying to figure out how to tell his kids that their mom is in jail. So a lot of people were trying to figure out, if they were already getting a divorce, why would she try to have him killed? And we all know the answer to this, y'all. This lady wanted money. Now, we don't know if they had a prenup. We don't know if they had clauses in their divorce. We don't know anything. It could have been something in there saying, well, if this person cheats or if that person cheats, this person takes everything. You get what I'm saying? We really don't know. So I'm thinking that if the divorce was not final and they were just in that process, maybe she thought that if I kill him, I'm still entitled to all of his money. I can move on with my life in the Bahamas with this man, and I don't have to worry about anything. No custody battles, no nothing. Now, it amazes me how you can build a life with someone for that long. From 2007 all the way till now. You're looking at almost 20 years. This person is literally taking care of the kids. This person is building a life for y'all. Even though his career didn't work out in the NFL, he still went and did what he had to do. And you thought that it was okay to just have him killed because you wanted to move on with your life. Now, y'all, this story is especially sad for the kids. I feel like they're not going to understand. And at the end of the day, they're still going to want to build a relationship with their mom, and that's their choice. But Lindsay was dead wrong, y'all. She did not have to go about it that way. Even down to her saying she was being abused in her marriage. If you had got a divorce and went about this the right way, you probably would have been entitled to everything he had because of that, if that was true. And when it's all said and done, this man is going to move on with his life and he's going to find somebody else. Now, comment below, you guys. Let me know your thoughts on this crazy case.
This man won £1 million but completely ruined his life. This is the true crime case that shocked the UK. Prior to 2001, Charles Ingram and his wife were living a fairly normal life with their 3 children. On the 9th of September, he became a contestant on the very popular UK TV show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. His wife Diana and her brother Adrian had both been contestants recently and actually won £32,000. Charles was finally in the hot seat and ready to earn some money for himself. However, things didn't end up going to plan. On the first day of filming, he'd actually only managed to reach the £4,000 mark. Now, fans of the show know that throughout the programme, you move through monetary increments and you are allowed a limited amount of help throughout. You're able to use a total of 3 lifelines throughout your time on the show. These are 50-50, phone a friend and ask the audience. Now, when filming commenced on the first day, Charles has actually already used 2 of these lifelines. He wasn't anywhere near the £1 million mark yet. The producers of the show admitted that they were quite dismissive of Charles and they never expected him to get much further. On the second day though, despite everyone's doubts, Charles started progressing through the rounds. Although on many occasions he admitted to not knowing the answer, he was able to make several seemingly completely accurate guesses. He finally reached the £1 million question despite everybody's doubts. Again, after admitting to not knowing the answer at all, he gambled on the correct one. In front of the cameras, he seemed elated to have won, but behind the scenes, things were very different. Cameras panned to Charles's wife Diana in the audience, and she struggled to be even smiling at her husband's new millionaire status. The production team started to get very suspicious, and there was even rumours that the Ingrams were actually in the dressing room arguing after he'd just won £1 million. Producers actually were so suspicious that they decided to search Charles after his win. They were looking for any devices on him that might explain sort of the odd behaviour that he'd been exhibiting. On his person, however, nothing was found. That's when the team started reviewing the video footage of the program. Now, there was actually a live studio audience at the time of filming. They figured out that Charles was strategically reading out each possible answer for the questions and then pausing. When the correct answer was read out, a cough could be heard from the audience. It was discovered that the cough would usually come from a member of the audience called Tequin Whittock. He was actually another contestant on the show, and at one point another cough came from Diana. The matter was handed to police and the three were charged with procuring the execution of a valuable security by deception. All three were given prison sentences, suspended for 2 years. They were all fined and ordered to pay the prosecution and defence charges. They all still do maintain their innocence to this day. Interestingly, in 2010, Charles actually had an accident with a lawnmower and lost 3 of his toes.
This is The Villages, the largest retirement community in the world, where you have to be 55 or older to live here, and is rumored to be the STD capital of America, with over 125,000 old people using loofahs to put on their golf carts to signal what they're into.
You know what they say, nobody gives a hummer like a gummer.
But is this loofah rumor true? Are these old people happy? And what advice do they have for young people like myself?
We've made it to the Spanish Villa.
Her arms were cut off. Her legs were cut off. Her ears were cut off. Her tongue was cut off.